Township Zoning Hearing Board for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. Can we please all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Before we get started, I'd like to introduce the board to you. To my left, I have Matei. To his left, I have Matt Takita, representing the township, and Diane Beret, also from the township. On my right, I have Keith Bibleymeyer, who is our solicitor. And to his right, I have Aaron Mackey. To his right, I have Karen Brandner. She is our, excuse me, I screwed your name up, Karen. I am so sorry. She is our court reporter. And I have Bill Kernan on Zoom. And I also have Ed Neubauer, who's also from the township, on Zoom. Keith?
Yes, thanks. First matter would be just stating for the record that the board took an executive session to discuss pending litigation. Madam Chair, we also received a letter from Matthew McHugh, who represents Night and Day Properties, LLC. Last December, they were in front of this board. They were granted certain variances. They need an extension of that decision or that granting of approval. So that's going to need a motion and also a second.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Aaron, can you please pull the board?
Sure. Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Leanie?
I'm a yes. Petition number 1, Theresa and Darren Keeny. I apologize if I got that wrong. 6 Timber Lane, Levittown, Pennsylvania, 19054. TMP number 13-023-454, zoned NCR, requesting dimensional variances to construct an addition to allow for a front yard setback of 21 feet 7 inches instead of the required 25 feet, and to allow the total impervious surface coverage of 3,859 square feet instead of the allowable 3,589 square feet, section 209-20.f and table 1. Can you please state your name and spell it for our court reporter and get sworn in, please?
Name is Darren Keeny, Darren Keeny.
I'll swear you in. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if we can mark some exhibits. The application for zoning ordinance appeal, along with accompanying statement from the applicant, will be ZHB 1. 2 will be a permit denial letter from Falls Township, sent November 6, 2024. 3 will be a plot plan. 4 will be another plan in regards to the proposed addition. 5 is an impervious calculation sheet. 6 will be the applicant and neighbor notification letters as required. 7 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times. 8 will be proof of posting of the property. That is all the board exhibits. I'm satisfied the appropriate notice have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Thank you, Keith. Mr. Keeny?
What?
You can.
So we're looking to just do a 10 by 16 addition off the front of the house. Since COVID, me and my wife have been primarily work from home. I'm full-time remote. My wife is part-time, 3 days a week. And right now, I'm in one of the spare bedrooms, and my wife is in the living room. So we just had a new child in June, who's 5 months old. So we're just looking to get a little bit extra space so we can have dedicated office space instead of working out of the living room and having to shuffle computer equipment around all the time. So just trying to get a little bit extra space.
Thank you. I'm going to open up to the board for some comments. Bob?
No questions.
Bill?
My question, I only have one, and that's on the variance for impervious surface. I mean, have you looked at if this would affect anybody, your neighbors, the road, or?
No, so we have woods behind us. So the Manor Elementary sits behind us, and there's a small stream in between me and Manor, along with some woodage. And we've never had any type of drainage issues that I'm aware of. I mean, I've been there almost 10 years now. And everything that we know as far as drainage-wise hasn't been an issue.
No, I'm referring to the front of the house. You're putting the addition on the front of the house, correct?
I am doing, yeah, on the front of the house, and same thing goes on the front. So we're gonna have gutters on both sides of the addition running off into the front. Yeah, as far as storm drainage goes, I've never seen any type of water backup on my street.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Darren?
So just a quick question. So the setback, you know, with the addition, just looking at the plan, so, you know, 21.7 versus 24, it looks like it's going to be flush or almost flush with the garage front.
Yes.
Which I'm
So
reading
it's
is right.
actually, it bumps out from the garage about 2 feet. So from the front of the house now to the sidewalk's 35.9 feet.
So
But per
just
the
visually from the street, it's not going to look like
No,
some
no,
huge extension into the...
no, it's literally almost going to be, I think our garage is 8.3 or 8.4 feet from that, and then we're an additional 1.5 feet.
Got it.
in
And
front
just
of
point out that the turkey's going to have to
Yep,
go.
yeah, the turkey, it's right where the
Okay.
turkey
Just want to
is.
confirm. Yeah. All right, thank you. No more questions for me.
Thank you. I don't have any questions at this time. Do I have a motion? Oh, excuse me. Is there anything from the township? Is there any public comment regarding this matter? I don't see anything. Now, do I have a motion?
I have that motion. I move that the application of Theresa and Darren Keeny requesting dimensional variances from section 209-20.f and table 1 of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to allow for a front yard setback of 21 foot 7 inch instead of the required 25 feet, and to allow the total impervious surface coverage of 3,859 square feet instead of the allowable 3,589 square feet at the property located at 6 Timber Lane, Levittown, PA 19054, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aaron, can you please pull the board?
Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Laney?
And I'm a yes. You'll be getting something from the township.
All right, thank you.
Petition number 2, 14-1 Steel Road, Morrisville, LLC, 14 North Steel Road, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, TMP number 13-047-155, and number 13-047-156, zoned HI, requesting a dimensional variance to permit a driveway width of 60 feet when measured 55 feet behind the curb line and 48 feet when measured 55 feet behind the street line, where 30 feet maximum is otherwise required. Section 209-42.E. Good evening.
Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant, 14-1 Steel Road, Morrisville, LLC. Thank you for having us here tonight.
Mr. McGuigan, do you have any witnesses that we can swear in before I start?
Yes, I'd like to have sworn in Mr. Sean Durkin, who's going to be the representative of the applicant here this evening.
Could you state your full name and spell it, please?
Sean Durkin, SeanDurkin.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Madam Chair, if we can mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as DHB1 along with the accompanying statement. 2 will be proof that the property was posted as required. 3 is proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times. 4 is notice to applicant's attorney, it's addressed as Mr. McGinnis, but Mr. McGuigan is here. 5 is a zoning plan. Mr. McGuigan has handed me a certification of service. I'll mark that as A1 if he doesn't have any other or pre-marked exhibits. Mr. McGuigan, the notice that appears in this packet was sent to all the property owners listed in Exhibit B. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'm satisfied the appropriate notices have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Thank you.
So again, thank you for having us here tonight. The property at issue is located at 14 North Steel Road. By way of background, the property is zoned part of the heavy industrial district, and it is one of 4 separate parcels that comprise essentially a 37-acre tract that is used by the applicant in furtherance of their existing industrial business. If this property or project seems familiar to the board, that makes sense because we were in front of this board earlier this year seeking relief to essentially partially consolidate these 4 separate lots into 2 parcels that would be improved by 2 warehousing structures. To receive those approvals, we received impervious surface relief along with certain parking relief. Specifically today, we're here related to Lot 2, which if you look at if you look at a copy of the plan that's shown on the big board tonight, this was as part of the plans that were in the the board packets for this evening. The smaller lot here to the bottom right, that's the one that we're talking about. Now, this particular parcel, it's going to have a 58,000 square foot structure improvement if everything is approved through land development. However, we received initially variances for parking setbacks for front yard and side yard, as well as total amount of off-street parking spaces for this particular lot. What we realized as we proceeded forward with the project is unfortunately we missed a variance. Here in Falls Township, there is a limitation on the width of a non-residential driveway of 30 feet. The driveway on this particular parcel is about approximately 60 feet. If we look at the next page here, this shows the actual measurements, which is kind of difficult to see as is, but I'm going to do my very best to blow this up a tad. All right. So if you look at 55 feet, which is the measuring stick, from the curb line, we're at approximately 60 feet in width. If you look at 55 feet from the right-of-way line, we're at about 48 feet in width. And again, you're only allowed 30 feet. The reason why we're proposing this, and again, just to confirm, this is not something new. We did not expand access or anything like that. This was always present on the plans. We simply neglected to ask for a variance that was otherwise required. But the reason why we require this is simply because we're trying to build this site to be accessible to semi and double semi traffic. If you look at this, this diagram, what this shows are turning radii for both, this would be a single to the left, a single semi, and double to the right. Because of the fact that you were dealing with this larger truck traffic and the need to accommodate potential dual traffic along this, this access way, we need a wider driveway. This is something that, again, it's adapted specifically for the use at issue, and it's something that, candidly, I'm sure this board is aware, many other local industrial developments are requesting because of the need to accommodate this larger scale traffic. So at the end of the day, we are requesting one single variance today. It is a variance that was always present on the plans. It's just unfortunately the applicant missed it when we were before this board previously. That is, again, for width of driveway. I have here Mr. Sean Durkin, who's been involved with this project on behalf of the applicant. Going back to the outset, if the board has any questions with regard to the applicant, the proposed use, or this particular issue, either Mr. Durkin or myself will be more than happy to answer it. But first, before I open this up to questions for the board, I just have a few housekeeping questions I'd like to ask Sean. Wayne, come on up. Sean, do me a favor. Did you hear all of the statements that I made to the board just now?
Yes.
Were they true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Is there anything that you would care to add or correct based on my statements?
No.
And are you willing to adopt those statements as your testimony here this evening?
I am.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sean. With that, if the board has any questions, we'll be more than happy to go through those or to go through any of the other exhibits that you've seen before you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open up for board comment. Bob?
No questions at the time.
Bill?
I don't know if I heard you right or not. You're not asking for any extra impervious surface, right? Just for the opening, correct?
That is 100% accurate, yes.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Aaron?
Bill took my question, so I'm good.
I don't have any questions at this time. Do I have anything from the township? Matt? Ed? Guess not.
Nothing.
Thank you. Anything from the public? I do not see anybody. Do I have a motion?
I've got that motion. I move that the application of 14(1) Steel Road, Morrisville, LLC, requesting a dimensional variance from section 209-42.e of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted to permit a driveway width of 60 feet when measured 55 feet behind the curb line and 48 feet when measured 55 feet behind the street line, where 30 feet maximum is otherwise required, at the property located at 14 North Steel Road, Morrisville, PA 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aaron, can you please pull the board?
Sure. Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
And
Lena?
I'm a yes. It's been approved. They'll be receiving something from the township. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Petition number 3, 9 Lincoln Highway Partners, LLC, 981 Lincoln Highway, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067, TMP number 13-028-034, zoned HC, requesting the following variances. Section 209-23.b, use variance to allow manufacturing and distribution use in the HC zoning district, and Section 209-23.g in Table 4, dimensional variances to allow maximum impervious surface ratio of 82.3%, where 70% is otherwise allowed. Good evening again.
Good evening again, Board. Bryce McGuigan, still from Begley Carlin, here tonight now on behalf of 981 Lincoln Highway Partners, LLC. Good evening.
Keith?
Sorry. Mr. Wigan, if you have any witnesses, we can have them sworn before I mark any exhibits.
Yes, sir. At this point, I'd like to have Michael Mormondo sworn together with Doug Pelican, if necessary.
Could you state your full name and spell it, please?
Michael Mormando, Mormando.
Sir, yours.
Douglas Pelican, Pelikan.
Do you both swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Madam Chair, we'll mark the application for zoning ordinance appeal as ZHB1, along with the accompanying statement. 2 will be proof that the property was posted as required. 3 is notice to Mr. McGuigan of tonight's meeting. 4 will be a series or set of plans submitted with the application. 5 will be proof of publication in the Bucks County Courier-Times. That is all the board exhibits. Mr. McGuigan has handed me a certification of service. I'll mark as A1. Mr. McGuigan, the form letter that's attached were sent to all the property owners attached as Exhibit B. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Madam Chair, I'm satisfied the appropriate notice that have been satisfied. This matter can proceed.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening again, Board. Thank you for having us here this evening. We are here today for the property located at 981 Lincoln Highway. By way of background, the property is a shade under 2 acres. It's rather, if you look here at the plans, it's rather thin and rather long. There are existing natural resources to the rear in the form of wetlands and some woodlands, and the property is otherwise home to an existing non-conforming used car business in this HC zone property. My client today, Mike Mormando, is one of the partners of the LLC that owns the property. He's reached an arrangement to buy out the other partner who owns the property. And the goal here is to redevelop the property so that it can be home to Mike's existing business, FSI Industries. FSI Industries is a local business based in Falls Township, just up the road in the industrial facility at 225 Lincoln Highway. It's involved in the manufacture and distribution of air and liquid filtration products. Generally speaking, their customers are other local industrial facilities, school districts, and other commercial operations. Like I said, it's a local small business headquartered here in Falls Township, and the goal here is to construct a brand new facility on the property specifically built to house all of FSI Industries' existing operations from the 225 Lincoln Highway facility, which includes manufacture, distribution, as well as some limited office facilities. The business in general will have approximately 16 employees, and like I said, it was all functioned from the property. If you look at it here, and let me try to increase the size a little bit. All right. So generally speaking, if you look at it, It's going to be approximately 10,000 square foot building. It's going to be existing warehousing type space with some offices to the rear. You have parking to the front, a little line of parking to the front with some loading areas, along with parking to the rear. The project will be setback compliant. It will be parking compliant, and it will respect and honor the natural resources to the rear of the property. If you look at an overhead here of what's existing now, as you can see, the property is trimmed in blue, long and thin. This area to the rear is improved, well, not improved, but it's currently home to wetlands and some natural resources. You have the existing used car operation to the front with a very small existing structure. As part of this process or project, the used car business would no longer operate from the property, and the existing improvements would no longer be, that would be removed. This would be a whole build from scratch, and as part of it, we would install obviously stormwater management, which is not currently present on the property, and ensure that this would be obviously compliant with township ordinances through the land development process. As part of the operations, the project or the facility would not be open to the public. Again, this is an industrial character facility, and it's one that we think would be in keeping with the local community, probably a little bit better than what's there now. If you look at this expanded satellite view, you can again see the subject property, and you can see some of the other industrial operations all along Old Lincoln, or Lincoln Highway in this particular area, which includes warehousing, storage, and other trucking sort of businesses. So again, we think this is something that will fit very well with the surrounding community and is something that would generally work for this area of Falls Township, as well as ensure that a nice local business will be able to stay in Falls Township. To do this, however, we require two separate variances. The first is for impervious surface. Now, impervious surface in this particular district, you're allowed 70%. We're proposing 82.3%. While that seems like it's a high number, one of the reasons, and perhaps the main reason why it is a high number, is because of the fact that in order to calculate this, we have to exclude all areas that are improved with natural resources from our calculations with respect to gross square footage. So in total, the lot's about 1.9 acres, but our gross square footage calculation is about 1.34 acres because that additional acreage is natural resources that we can include. So the net impervious surface percentage would be compliant, but because we obviously are complying with the gross square footage requirements of the township, that's why it looks a little high. And obviously, we're going to be able to comply with stormwater management to ensure that's not an issue. The next variance is for use. In the highway commercial district, manufacturing and distribution is technically not an approved use. Right now, the property is already being used for something that's an existing legal, but a non-conforming use. And it's our belief that something like what we're proposing, especially in light of the other properties nearby, is more in keeping with the community than what's there now, to be candid. So with that, I have Mr. Mormando here with me tonight. Mike has been an owner of this property as a partner for many years, and he is the one who, like I said, will be owning this property fully if this receives approvals and moves forward, and it will be his personal business that will be operating here, a business that has been operating for several years here out of Falls Township. I also have Mr. Doug Pelican, who's responsible for the plans that were submitted to the board in the board packets this evening. So if the board has any questions from an engineering standpoint, whether that be involving the impervious surface, the natural resources, Doug would be more than happy to address those. But first, I have a few questions here for Mike before we open up for 2 questions for the board. All right. Mike, did you hear everything I just mentioned to the board?
Yes.
All right, true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to change or add based on my statements to this board?
No.
Would you be willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
And obviously, if the board has any questions or concerns, you'll be more than happy to try to address those.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with that, that will conclude the applicant's presentation. And obviously, if the board has any specific questions, I'll be more than happy to bring Doug up here to see if we can address those as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open this up for board comment. Bob?
No questions at this time.
Bill?
I had a question for Matt. Is it still 70% for highway commercial, or did we lower that?
All right, I'm sorry, repeat the question?
Is for highway commercial for impervious surface, is it 70% or was that lowered?
No, it's 70%.
Oh, okay, that's all I had. All right, thank you.
Aaron?
Great. So with respect to water management, so I see that immediately adjacent to you is another auto sale place that I drive by all the time, which also has a lot of impervious surface as well. Do you actually, just, and again, it's not your responsibility to know this, but I'm curious, what possible water management systems they may already have in place? Is there anything that you can do to kind of work with them to work into that system to I guess I'm thinking about this, it's a very, very narrow strip of land, and water management is an issue throughout that entire stretch.
Sure.
Right? And so for you to do something that's very specific to this one particular strip when
Yeah, well,
throughout that whole stretch is, there's a lot of stuff going on there. But
Yeah, of course. What I would say is we're probably a little limited because of the fact that it looks like a lot of so first off, a lot of their impervious is to the rear where we have natural resources that we can't touch. With respect to some of their additional impervious, what I would say is, unfortunately, that property is probably better equipped to handle that than we are just because of sheer size. If you look at that, it's probably got us by about 50 to 70% in terms of larger size. But in terms of what we're proposing, maybe Doug can answer a little bit better than I can in terms of, at this point, and again, we're not through land development yet. We know we're going to have to prepare formal plans with respect to stormwater management, but maybe Doug can at least give the board a little bit of an idea of what we're
let
planning.
me actually just, before you,
Sure.
I do want to hear, let me rephrase my question into a better question. My concern is that if you design something that's just for your space, but you also have all this runoff from everywhere else.
Will it still work? Will it fail?
Yes.
All right, that's a Doug question.
Sorry.
Go back to the other drawing you had there. Okay, now, you got this little dealie here. Okay, what we intend to do is the rear parking lot behind the building is going to have a subsurface detention area. So you won't see it, but it'll completely take all the rain runoff from the front parking, the building rain leaders, and the rear parking lot will all be contained here and be infiltrated into the ground according to all your standards. We've already done percolation tests and so forth out back there, and actually, quite surprisingly, you have very good soils for what we intend to do. So we think we have that all handled, and visually, you will see no impact.
Okay.
Right.
And the creek that is in the back of the property,
Well,
does that
here's-
eventually, does all that excess water then run into that creek? Or it would have run into that creek anyway?
It would have run into the creek anyway. We're reducing everything to more than 80% of what it is now. So we're,
Just in terms, because I can't tell quite from the, I mean,
Well, okay,
I'm
here's
not
the-
used to looking
here's
at
the
this map.
creek.
The elevation draws everything towards that creek.
there's almost a 20-foot difference from the front at the highway to the rear. And we're handling a whole 20-foot elevation difference. The creek is all the way back here. The edge of the wetlands is here. Edge of the 100-year flood is here, and we're maintaining everything outside of those buffers.
Understood, thank you. So everyone always wants to know about traffic. What's your expected kind of traffic in and out of the property for the goods that you're manufacturing?
I mean, as far as like the employees, we're probably looking at 12 cars, maybe 14 cars. And then we do have some delivery trucks, and then we also occasionally get tractor trailers doing deliveries as well of raw materials.
Well, and if I can also make the observation that right now it's more of a retail business there, obviously used car sales. So I would say that compared to the in and out of retail, a car lot, our traffic would be likely a net decrease to what's there now. And just Aaron, to your point with stormwater that I want to mention, existing right now, it's a shade over 60% impervious. And I don't believe that all of that impervious was added through the permitting process. And there was no formal stormwater management on site now. So even though we're going that up a little under 10%, we're going to be providing stormwater management well in excess of that. So it's going to be a net positive from that standpoint as well.
Yep, understood. So I guess just one follow-up question on the traffic. I guess part of my question was about, so, as you, produce the various commercial air and water filtration products that your company builds, how do you then ship them out? Is there a big tractor trailer that comes and picks it all up, or?
We have delivery trucks, local delivery trucks that we
Okay.
utilize. And then also, too, we do use UPS, FedEx. So we do have those trucks coming in and out throughout the day doing pickup
Okay,
orders.
so unlike the previous applicant where you had to deal with
No,
big semi-trailers coming in and out, you don't have that issue here.
right.
Got it. Okay, great, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Aaron. What are the hours of this operation?
Currently, we're 7 to 3, and we really have no plans to change that. It might be 7 to 5. We do keep people around sometimes if we have late trucks coming in doing pickups, things like that.
Are there going to be lighting on the building?
I'm sorry?
Is there going to be lighting on the building?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. Safety around the building at night as well, we want lighting, sure.
And also, as part of the land development process, I believe we'll have to submit a formal lighting plan as well for review by Joe's office.
I was just concerned about the residents that are close to the
Well,
proposed site.
sure, and we know that we'll have to abide by the township regulations when it comes to foot candles at the property line and that sort of thing. So we'll make sure that it's angled appropriately so that we don't disturb the residences, 100%.
Okay. Aaron asked a lot of my questions, so I'm good with that. I was just more concerned about the pervious surface and making sure that there was going to be adequate drainage for that. And I was concerned about the traffic coming in and out of there because some of the people coming off of Route 1, off the superhighway, they go pretty fast coming up that road.
Yeah, sure.
And adding any more like tractor trailers or anything like that, trying to get in and out of that property might be challenging at some point.
Well,
So that's a
Sure.
consideration also.
If I may, to that point, the nice thing about this business is, first off, the property is zoned highway commercial. So I would say that I would agree that a true commercial use probably is not the best choice for this particular property, just because you don't want all of that coming and going. So something industrial might make more sense. But to your point, Madam Chairwoman, with respect to our business, we're not going to need tractor trailers coming in all of that frequently, because the nice thing about filtration products, they're generally not large. I think this is a nice balance between something that's a less impactful use and the impact that it does have is something that works for this particular property.
And what exactly is the filtration things that you're making there?
So we make air filters as well as distribute other high purity products for other industries. We do work with a lot of hospitals. We work with pharmaceutical companies. Our customer base goes from New York all the way down to Baltimore, Maryland. We also are a sub-manufacturer for American Air Filter, so we do a lot of work with them as well. So we're actually within the 5-state community. We do quite a bit of different industries in that area, so they depend on us for those products. And we've been in Falls Township for 20 years.
I think that's all the questions I have at this point. Like I said, I was just concerned about the residents around there also. Are the apartments going to remain there also that are right there by that site?
Well, all I can say is, with respect to our property, the only use that you'll have will be my client's use, FSI Industries.
Thank you. Sure. Do we have anything from the township?
Nothing from the township.
Anything from you, Ed?
Nothing.
Thank you. Anything from the public? I don't see anybody. Do I have a motion?
Sure. I move that the application of 981, parentheses 9, Lincoln Highway Partners LLC, requesting the following variances from the following sections of the Falls Township zoning ordinance be granted for, 1, Section 209-23.b, a use variance to allow a manufacturing and distribution use in the HC zoning district, and 2, Section 209-23.g and Table 4, dimensional variance to allow a maximum impervious surface ratio of 82.3%, where 70% is otherwise allowed. At the property located at 981 Lincoln Highway, Morrisville, PA, 19067, as depicted on the plans and in accordance with the testimony presented to the zoning hearing board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aaron, can you please pull the board?
Yes. Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Laney?
And I'm a yes. Your petition has been granted. You'll receive something from the township.
Thank you so much.
Before I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday season, and we will see you in January on the 14th of 2025. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.